few days ago, I turned on the news and I saw some really ugly, disgusting, deranged Democrats in Washington, D.C. singing and protesting against Donald Trump, not singing about Donald Trump, but protesting against Donald Trump, and protesting Elon Musk, and who has been exposing all this, and you all seen it, all this massive, wasteful spending of the taxpayers' money, and millions of dollars. And the Democrats have been freaking out over this. And you know what I'm talking about. They're just like giant meltdown. And so they found this plethora of wasteful spending. You've all heard of this, but I'm going to repeat some of them. $2 million for pottery classes in Morocco. And $1.5 million for diversity, equity, inclusion teachings in Serbia. And $45 million for scholarship for programs for students in Burma. $70,000 to produce a DEI musical in Ireland. $2.5 million for electrical vehicles in Vietnam. $47,000 for a transgender opera in Colombia. That'd be interesting. I wonder if we can get them perform here. No, I don't think so. $32,000 for a transgender comic book in Peru, and $2 million for sex changes and LGBTQ activism in Guatemala. And of course, that's just some of the spending, all of which is foolish and wasteful. And as they gathered at the state capitol, not state, the U.S. Capitol, they begin to sing an old protest song. You heard it. Which side are you on? And go, which side are you on? Which side are you on? And so on. The song was actually written in 1931. So it actually is an old song. And it was written originally as a song for union coal workers. And then it was recorded by Pete Seeger. And Pete Seeger made this record. Pete Seeger is also the guy who made popular the civil rights song, We Shall Overcome. You know, we shall overcome. How did that go? We shall overcome. We shall overcome. We shall overcome someday. 'Cause deep in my heart, I do believe. Bill's over there having a fit. We shall overcome someday. And that was a song all through the South. Pete Seeger is the one that's made that song popular. And Pete Seeger also, in an interview in the late 1970s, said that he would sing Which Side Are You On at communist meetings. So we know where that song originated from. And so these Democrats, they were kind of in touch with their, I guess, spirit self. But which side are you on is actually a concept we should need to consider. Which side are you on? When Moses came down from Mount Sinai, you remember Moses went up to Mount Sinai and he got the Ten Commandments, and he's gone for an awful long time, and the people of Israel wondered where he's at. He's been gone a long time. When is he coming back? And finally, he didn't come back as quickly as they thought, and so they corrupted themselves. And God tells Moses, it's in Exodus 32, he says, and the Lord said unto Moses, go get thee down, for the people which thou bringest out of Egypt have corrupted themselves. So Moses comes down to the mountain, hears all this yell, I don't know, whatever going on with people having a party. And they thought Moses maybe got killed or whatever, fell off a cliff maybe up on a mountain, who knows. And so they come to Aaron, he was a brother of Moses, one of the leaders of Israel. They come to Aaron and says, we don't know what happened to this guy, this Moses guy, so we need to have a God. We need a God. We don't know what happened to Moses, or we don't know what happened to his God. So Aaron, will you make us a god? So Aaron says, okay, if you say so. So bring me all your gold. They took all their jewelry and earrings and so forth. They bring it up Aaron, and he puts it in a pot. He melts it down, and he says a golden calf rose out of the pot. I don't know how that happened, but that was Aaron's excuse. But Moses comes down and he sees this. He's angry, and he says, "Who is on the Lord's side?" And I don't think he sang the song. I doubt he sang the song. But he's asking, which side are you on? Which side are you on? In Joshua 23, we read that Joshua gathered the elders of Israel at the city of Shechem. And Shechem was about 20 miles west of the Jordan River. And Shechem has a long history in biblical accounts. Shechem is where Jacob is buried. And Shechem is also the city where Rehoboam was anointed king. And remember, he anointed king, and the 10 tribes of Israel came, and they, pleaded him to go eat. Because taxes were starting to go out of the roof. At the end of Solomon's life, he started raising taxes. And Rehoboam was made king after Solomon's death, and they come to Rehoboam and said, "You're going to lower the taxes? You're going to give some relief to us?" And Rehoboam said, "Heck no! In fact, I'm going to raise taxes higher." And so they rebelled, and that's where you get the two nations of Israel. So that occurred in the city of Shechem, and so Joshua is there at the city of Shechem. He'd taken over after Moses had passed away, and he's there. He's elderly now, and he's at the city of Shechem, and he's giving his farewell address. He gives a farewell address to the people of Israel, and he tells them and warns them of all the good that's going to come upon them if they obey the Lord, and all the evil that'll come upon them if they do not obey. And then chapter 24, he gives them a reminder of who they are. And he tells about their covenant, the covenant of Abraham, all down, and gives the history of them as a people. And then he finishes up and says, "Choose ye this day who you will serve." In other words, which side are you on? And so long before the ugly Democrats were singing, "Which side are you on?" long before Pete Seeger was singing, "Which side are you on?" Joshua was asking the nation of Israel, "Which side are you on?" In the 16th verse of Joshua 24, he tells them, where they answered him after they said, "What side are you on?" They answered Joshua, said, "God forbid," the people, he called the leaders of Israel, the priests and so forth, and put this challenge before them, and then they reply by saying, "God forbid that we should forsake the Lord to serve other gods." And yet we know that is exactly what they did time and time and time again, even to this very day in which we now live. We as a people have had to make that decision many times throughout history. And of course, as individuals, we are faced with this major decision every day in our life. And I like to tell young people, between the ages of 16 and 19, those are ages where you can be making major decisions that are going to affect your whole life. And think about it very clearly. Exactly what side are we on? We begin making those decisions when we are very little, and we continue making that decision throughout our life. I suppose the biggest challenge we face right now with this election of Donald Trump is from an old paradox that says, good is the enemy of best. You really think about that. Good is the enemy of best. So often we want something good, but good is the enemy of best. In other words, when some people get good at something, they stop. There may be room for improvement, perhaps even much improvement. But stopping when it's only good enough, the best is never developed, never accomplished, and never realized. Why? Because it didn't seem important enough. What prevented the best was that good stood in the way of something better. being satisfied with good never allows the best to come to life. So we choose, so often, be on the safe side, something good, instead of choosing to be the best. So, with Donald Trump and the election, we supported, I'm talking myself, and I believe probably everybody here, supported Donald Trump's election. I voted for him. However, the downside to that is people are prone to complicity and complacent. They got something good with the election of Donald Trump. But if America is to survive, good is not good enough. And for that reason, good may actually be harmful. Now, about people being prone to complicity, it reminds me of the story. I'm going to try to tell a joke now, okay? So here it comes. A woman being interviewed by a reporter, and he says to her, "What is the biggest challenge facing America today? The economy or complicity?" She stopped for a minute and said, "Well, I don't know. And frankly, I don't care." Did I tell that good? I don't know. Anyway, okay. Think about it. So, what seems good is only good at the moment. No doubt, many times throughout history, people have understood this strange phenomena of good versus best. Even Thomas Jefferson, the guy who wrote the Declaration of Independence, he wrote in the Declaration of Independence, "All experience has shown that mankind are more disposed to suffer as long as evils are sufferable than to right themselves by changing, or by I'm going to start that over again. All experience has shown that mankind are more disposed to suffer while evils are sufferable than to right themselves by abolishing the forms to which they have become accustomed." And so, here's the deal. More disposed to suffer. Oh, they may not like it, but they can endure it. Sometimes people stay in a bad neighborhood that may not be really the best neighborhood, but moving, it seems like a lot of work, too hard, so on. So they just kind of endure. They build the wall a little higher, put some extra locks on the doors, and so on. And so the Founding Fathers think the same way here. You know, it's not good underneath the British, but yeah, we can get by. And this statement was written in 1776 when the Founding Fathers were hoping to stir their countrymen to rally for independence. Jefferson is telling us, perhaps even warning us, that although there may be things we don't like, we accept them because the comfort is more enticing. In other words, the suffering is more enticing than engaging in what Patrick Henry called the great and arduous struggle for liberty. Now, the struggle for liberty is too hard. It may be just easier to sit back and take it the way it is. And that's kind of the situation we have in our nation today. So they concern about maybe our fellow countrymen aren't going to want to engage in the struggle for liberty because they're in their comfort zone. You've heard that phrase before. They're in their comfort zone. And it's like the story I tell sometimes about the old preacher, where a new preacher goes to visit a new member of his church in the Ozarks, as the story goes. And he's visiting with this old guy on the front porch of the home, and there's a dog laying on the front porch and the wooden porch. And as the preacher's talking to his member of the church, the dog begins to whine a little bit, and then moves about and goes back to sleep. And a few minutes later, the dog whines again, moves about and falls back to sleep, and did that repeatedly. And finally, the preacher says to the guy, he says, "What's wrong with your dog?" And the old guy says, "Well, he's laying on a nail." And the preacher says, "Well, why don't he move?" The guy says, "Because it doesn't hurt enough yet." People don't move until it hurts. What's happening in our country, maybe we're not hurting enough yet. It's always been the case for mankind. The comfort zone is kind of nice. And it may hurt a little bit, but in a strange way, we kind of enjoy complaining, don't we? I mean, just face it. In a certain degree of us, we like complaining for whatever reason. So we like complaining about the government. If the government was perfect, we wouldn't have nothing to complain about. So we kind of enjoy complaining. It's weird, but it's true. So Jefferson is concerned that perhaps people would choose the side of the comfort, just like the dog laying on the nail, because it doesn't hurt enough yet. Benjamin Franklin said regarding the same issue, he says, those who would give up essential liberty to purchase a little temporary safety deserve neither liberty or safety. I'm going to repeat that. Those who would give up essential liberty to purchase a little temporary safety deserve neither liberty or safety. Kind of harsh words, but it's true. And yet so often we do give up, progressively in this country, we've given up degrees of our liberty. That is kind of what's happening to America and our white sister nations of Europe. The progress of modern living has made us comfortable. And there's nothing wrong with being comfortable. We like comfort. We strive for it. We work for it. We want to see our children comfortable. Parents work hard to bring comfort into the children's lives. They want their children to be well-fed, well-dressed, and warm on those winter nights when the cold winds are coming down out of the north. But if we get too comfortable, what happens? We get lazy. Our forefathers understood what it meant to struggle. We don't like it, but struggle is necessary. I saw an interview on a few years back, and some guy was talking about, I don't know who it was, talking about a period of life. He said everything was just, he said, he gave a list of different things. He said, one day he just got down, he said, I just got on my knees and I prayed to the Lord. He said, it's just too hard. It's hard. Life is hard. And he said, the Lord told me, I don't know if he actually heard the Lord talk, but this is what he said. It's supposed to be hard. It's supposed to be hard. Life is a struggle. A baby struggles to be born. Just to be born, a baby struggles. We struggle when we first begin rolling over. We struggle when we learn to crawl, when we learn to walk. We struggle when we run, learning to run, and if we fall, we scrape our knees. And it's a struggle. We struggle when we eat, trying to get the food in our mouth. We struggle when we learn to ride a bike. Everything about our life is a struggle. Everything. We struggle when we're learning to read. We struggle when trying to learn how to solve problems. We struggle when we mature. We struggle when we're trying to find a wife or trying to find a husband. On Sunday morning, we may struggle to get out of bed and come to church. For some people, it's a struggle. It's a struggle for me sometimes, trying to come up with a sermon every Sunday morning. It's a struggle. The struggle never ends. And when you get old, you're going to struggle not to fall over when you walk. Life is a struggle. And all through these struggles, we face the constant struggle against sin. That's why it is important, we read in Proverbs, he said, trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not unto thine own understanding. In all thy ways acknowledge him, and he will direct your path. But many people, it is a struggle learning to trust the Lord. Psalms 37:23 says, the steps of a good man are ordered by the Lord. In all our struggles, if we just trust in the Lord, he will order our path. So we have to always be on guard. We have to guard our decisions. We got to guard who we pick as our friends. Because we don't guard those things, we'll make wrong choices. That's why we have to let the Lord guide our footsteps. And if we don't struggle, we get lazy about life, and our struggle will end up in defeat. So Jesus tells us, we got here, "Come unto me, all ye that labor and heavy laden, and I'll give you rest. Take my yoke upon you and learn from me, for I am gentle and lowly in heart. You'll find rest for your souls, for my yoke is easy, my burden is light." And I know I've told you this before, but people think, "Oh, God, put a heavy yoke on me." Jesus told me how heavy it is, but the yoke is not. Yoke makes life easier. Because you're not going to avoid, being a Christian don't mean you're avoiding struggles. You're all going to have struggles. But you know, if you got a oxen or a horse or something like that, and you want to pull a cart, you just put a rope around him, he can't pull it. He'll choke. He can't pull a cart, a heavy load, with just a rope around his neck. So you put the oxen, because the weight of the load cross over his body, if you have several. And so the yoke makes it easier. So he said, "Take my yoke, it will make your life easier." In life you're going to have struggles, but the Lord says, "Take my yoke on you, it'll make your life easier." You'll have peace in the midst of struggle. So again, Thomas Jefferson says, "All experience has shown that mankind is more willing to suffer evils, as long as the evil is sufferable, than to right themselves by abolishing the forms to which they have become accustomed." That's not just on politics, but in life in general. So Jefferson is concerned but that this comfort zone that people are in may stand in the way of something better. We got something good with Donald Trump, but it can be better. And Thomas Jefferson was telling us it's important to struggle for something better, because he says, as to preserve what George Washington called our dearest liberties. So over the years, America has moved towards socialism and has become what is commonly called the nanny state. We've seen it happen in recent years, becoming the nanny state. And even those who are against the nanny state still kind of like the comfort the nanny state provides. The nanny state is a trap that leads to slavery. The nanny state is so enticing. It's so comfortable. So we read here in Jeremiah, "There are wicked men among my people, like those who make nets for catching birds. They set traps to catch people." That's what nanny state is all about. It's a trap to catch people. We are in this trap because of wicked men, or what we today would call those in what's called the deep state, a global empire that hates our country, hates our Christian faith, and hates our people. Over the years, many have attempted to warn the people, but the people refuse to listen. I think they want to be on the Lord's side. I think most people want to be on the Lord's side. They just don't know how. They're caught in the trap. Working as a team, my wife and I have spent 60 years in our attempt to warn people. And there are many that went on before us. The one man that comes to my mind is Senator Joseph McCarthy. And he was a senator from Wisconsin. And he was going after the deep state, the same as Donald Trump is going after today. Unfortunately, he didn't have the internet, he didn't have podcasters, he didn't have YouTubers, he didn't have Newsmax, Real American Voice, or Fox News, or others. For the most part, he fought the battle alone, and he was demonized for it. Even today, conservatives, who I guess don't know any better, will talk in disrespect to Joseph McCarthy, making a reference to McCarthyism. Today, his name has been used as a slur, and anyone who exposes the deep state is accused of promoting McCarthyism. Now, my wife and I, we had the honor of knowing one of McCarthy's secretaries, Larry Lint, who mentioned me in her autobiography, My Travels Through This World, in which she wrote this complimentary statement, if you don't mind me indulging for a moment. She wrote, "At a patriotic meeting in Arkansas, I met Tom Robb, a fine Christian gentleman. He asked if he could interview me about Senator McCarthy. Lo and behold, it was written up in his newspaper with a picture of myself and the American flag. And of course, there are others besides him. There was the Dan Smoot Report, the John Birch Society, there was Gerald O.K. Smith, among others, all giving a warning. But again, the people didn't listen because life was just too comfortable to engage in the struggle for liberty. But then things started to get bad. And now it seems they're beginning to perhaps to listen. Now we got this quote on the screen here. I'm going to put it on the screen because sometimes it's kind of hard to follow through something like this without being able to visually see it yourself. So this is by Michael Goodwin, who's a reporter for the New York Post. He's a conservative writer. Here's what he wrote. The world had now seen the Trump effect on full display. A glance across America and Europe leads to an unmistakable conclusion. Revolution is in the air. The failures of democracy are sparking internet upheavals. Thankfully, spams of violence and bloodshed are few. But a toxic brew of overbearing governments, shrinking freedoms, and undeniable decline in producing demands for big changes. Is producing demands for big changes. A common thread from California to Great Britain, France, and Germany is that liberal underpinnings have morphed into sloppy socialism, unchecked immigration, cultural clashes, and restraints on critical speech. Collectively, the conservative blowback reveals that the time allotted for an indulgent detour has expired and a new consensus is taking shape, whether entrenched leftists like it or not. You can thank Donald Trump and the 77 million Americans who elected him for this development. So yes, Donald Trump's election has been a big victory, and it is tipping over the apple cart, as they say. But this is where we must be careful, or we'll see the good destroy the best. I also want to point out something else too that is a concern of mine. It needs to be a concern of yours. We're hearing a lot about how Christianity and faith-based movies are coming out and very popular, and that gives somewhat of encouragement because we see maybe the leftist decline and there's like a resurgence of Christian influence in our schools and in our government and in movies, and that sounds encouraging. But what concerns me a little bit, and we need to watch it, what concerns me is this change of this Christian influence is part of this one world church, because while it's Christian, it's also changed the meaning of Christianity. So you watch all these, so many of these faith-based movies and influence and so forth, and they are all embracing miscegenation. And so we have a resurgence of Christianity and everybody happy, but what is it doing? It bring race mixing right into our living rooms in a soft manner that unless you are really, really in tune, can suck you right into the one world church. Now, so we said how the good can destroy the best. Because ultimately, MAGA, and we all can, I think, would consider ourselves MAGA, make America great again. But ultimately, MAGA is fighting for the wrong thing. All these Republicans that we out here that we really like what they're doing, ultimately, we have to understand they're fighting for the wrong thing. We recognize that they started in the right direction. And this pot has gotten stirred. And it's because of the political activity of Donald Trump. However, they still haven't put the dots together. The dots are how racial demographics are changing America. Even if mass deportations remove illegal aliens, we are still being flooded with millions of legal immigrants who still vote differently than white Christians. So it appears that most people who supported Donald Trump did so for the wrong reason. ultimately for the wrong reason. They want a better economy, cheaper prices, better jobs, and more money in their pocket, and more money in the bank. That's not a bad thing. I would like more money in my pocket. I'm sure everybody here would like to have more money in your pocket also. But the Bible tells us what? The love of money is the root of all evil. Not money itself, but the love of money. And if we make decisions based upon money, it could bring an evil result in our life. It doesn't mean you're evil, but if you make a decision based on, if money is your primary factor in making a decision, it may bring evil results in your life. I'll give some examples of that, but I won't take time now. But a good example I'd like to point out is that people often move across the country for a better job. But they should consider moving to a better location for their children to live in. That should be a primary factor. I'm going to move here because it'll be a better place for my kids. It'll be a church I can be involved with or something of that nature. Not because it could be a better job or more money. Not that it's wrong, but you put your priority and it could have evil results. So Trump is now president. And we have something good that's making us happy. But that this good is of no value unless it morphs into an awareness that America's foundation really has nothing to do with money in a bank or beautiful trade deals. America was not built because of trade deals. America was great because it was a European nation planted in this North American continent. From the time of our forefathers, when they settled in Jamestown or in Plymouth, America was a country that was built on two principles. Not beautiful trade deals. That was not even part of the... they did have trade with European countries, so of course. And trade and all that, money is important. Don't discount that. But the blessings come not because you're a good trade deal. The blessings come, you're a people that were Christ-centered. We were a Christian nation. And we were white-centered. Our whole history from Jamestown and Plymouth and on up until the 1960s, we were a country that was white-centered. And we're a country that was Christ-centered. We didn't have the right church doctrines and right teachings, all this stuff. We had all the religious conflicts. That is insignificant. We were still Christ-centered. We were still white-centered. And that's what made America great. So we're kind of in this little gray area right now where we like Donald Trump, all like he's doing, but that's not going to get us to making America great again if we're still being flooded by aliens who do not embrace our culture, our national, our racial identity. They're not going to do it. We must not become complacent thinking Trump is in the White House, so everything's going to be okay. We win. Trump is in the White House, so we're done with, we won the battle, because we haven't won the battle. It's moving in the right direction. And there are many people, I believe, out there who probably are aware that this isn't the end, but we still have to reach them. As a nation, we must not become settled and comfortable in the trap. We may have all the economic blessings a person could ever ask for and still die a spiritual death as the ugly monster of white genocide marches on. I mean, if our race is destroyed, our people destroyed, who cares? I don't care if that flag flies over our nation. If it doesn't fly over our children, we don't build America for the aliens, we build America for our people and our children. So, much I like what Trump is doing, most Americans are still on the side of money and not on the side of people. Which side are they on? At this point, they're on the side of money. What's good for them, what's good for the economy, what's good for money in the bank, what's good for trade deals, all the good stuff. But are they on the side of preserving their racial identity? They're not there yet. That, my friend, is our job. That is our crusade. It should be the crusade of all white Christian nationalists to be a voice in a dark world that needs the light of Christian revival. If we want America, to close here, if we want America to be truly great again, then it must be Christ-centered again, and it must be white-centered again. I had a friend a number of years ago, and he told me a story. He said, I had a girlfriend, and she knew involved with white nationalist politics. And she told me, she said, either quit your political activity, or I'm out of here. I'm quitting you. It's either me or your politics. Take your choice. Which side are you on? She didn't use those words, but basically that's what he said. And here's what he told her. He said, you know, I can find another girlfriend. I can't find another race. It's something we need to think about. There's no other way. We must choose to be Christ-centered and white-centered again. That is the side we must be on. That is the side we must choose. So we'll close with that. Do we have a closing song, Jason? Our Father, we thank you for your blessings upon us. Help us be strong. We face many struggles here every day. We face struggles that challenges our faith, challenges our trust, challenges us what side we're going to be on. May every day we wake up and as we take the first breath of air, we say, I'm on the Lord's side. I'm on the Lord's side. Keep us strong. Keep us faithful.